introduce James Whale and Matt Fredrickson from our Cisco and Microsoft product management team.
The main objectives we want to get across within this webinar is, first of all, the UCaaS opportunity for our existing partners and potential partners that have joined us, what's Tata's value proposition, and how we are enabling our primary collaboration technology partners, these being Cisco and Microsoft. What is the market opportunity for UCaaS? It's a sizable number. This is a projection that we've taken from Gartner. And for those of you who are currently playing in this space, you're probably acutely aware of how you need to protect, but also grow your wallet share in this fast-changing environment. Tata Communications, like other service providers, have taken a big chunk in this space, and our investments that we've made, we're now enabling partners to access and to leverage. So these customer pains, you're probably very familiar with them. Don't despair. These can be resolved. And it's a fantastic opportunity now, probably a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity, to address these through the transformation to cloud. But cloud and its transformation is complex, it's specific, and it's unique to each enterprise. Matt, can you give us a bit more insight into these?
Yeah, I mean, I'd really focus on the shrinking budgets and this notion of a shrinking IT department. Traditionally responsible for the collaboration tools, remaining responsible for this transformation to cloud. And when you combine that with the maintained very high expectations, not just of the executives across the organization, which of course is there, but also of the users. The users' influence is becoming more and more great, and the expectation of having a service that simply works is still there. And when you consider what is often a very complicated and disparate legacy environment, the need to integrate those legacy environments as well as to migrate from them to the transformed end state really comes at a cost, and that provides a pain point for the customer that they need to think about. Like I said before, in their eyes and their expectation, it simply needs to work, but doing that is complex.
Thanks, Matt. Well, and of course, those customer pains are then projected onto us as solution providers. But in order to address those, the models of engagement that we've been used to in the past have had to change. And by that I mean it's the demand now for partnering. No single provider can provide these solutions globally. But why is that? Why do we need to partner? Because the cloud transformation piece demands a broader portfolio of services and products. And Matt, can you give a bit more context here?
Yeah, I'd really focus on two key areas, this notion of borderless growth and how we can enable partners to be more global and address a more global market opportunity, I think is key. And we see across our partner community a need to partner in order to become more global and to address that opportunity. And when you couple that, I think, very much hand in hand with the need to broaden the portfolio also, the need to be able to provide an end-to-end service and to have service elements that really can provide that end-to-end experience for the end customer is also a key pain point from a partner. There are gaps today, both in terms of reach and subject matter expertise.
Marvelous. So we've seen the problems, both from a partner and a customer perspective. By resolving those, what value are we bringing to partners and customers? Well, in order to bring value, you have to have a proven and established methodology in building out global UCaaS platforms. Tata have been in this market for around about 7 years, so we have the experience and the understanding of how to do that, which effectively we then open up to our partner base to de-risk without investment access into this with much faster speed to market. So Matt, I mean, you've worked with many of our partners and customers. Can you talk us through some of the value that we are bringing?
Yeah, I mean, I would start really with the business case. I think we can demonstrate that the commercial stack up, that this kind of buy versus build approach can really work, not only to provide the partner the value that they need and allow them to take a service to market more quickly and at the right price point, but also to meet the end user expectations in terms of that price point. So I think that's absolutely key when we talk about what we're delivering, that commercial proposition still stacks up, and we think we can demonstrate that. I'd also like to focus on vendor alignment, and this has relevance both to the partner and to the end customer. One of the things that we've seen across our product portfolio, and really a strategic shift that we've made over the last couple of years is to align much more tightly with our key vendor technology partners, to take their vision from a technology stack perspective to the market, really enabling that with our underpinning network and the service wrap that we put around that in order to realize their vision. But what that also means for the end customer, of course, is that it becomes and maintains vendor certification. So there's an assurance and an insurance that comes with that to make sure that the experience is guaranteed. And when you combine with that our global reach and our ability to guarantee a quality of experience, not just because of the end-to-end service that we can offer, but also through a tool set that provides visibility and control right across that stack, I think really creates a compelling offer.
From a value perspective, how does this then translate down into what the customer is asking for? And Matt, you touched upon earlier the need for an end-to-end service. So how do you build that out? Well, of course, you have the UCaaS application layer sitting in a data center, riding a backbone, whether that's MPLS or IP. But you also need the relationships to provide the last mile access, either into data centers or customer premises. But key to providing this enterprise voice capability within a cloud, it's the voice access. And in this, we're talking about SIP. So because Tata owns all of these layers, we're in a great position to pass on that end-to-end quality of service to our customers. But Matt, why is that so important?
One of the things that we talk about a lot is this notion of centralizing complexity. I mean, in order to surface a very simple and intuitive user experience, there is a lot to be done, particularly when you put that in a global context. And so being able to layer these services to provide that globally and end-to-end really masks that complexity away from the end user, as well as in many cases to our partner community. What that also then allows for and realizes for the end enterprise is the ability to consolidate vendors and the economies that come with that, the single throat to choke, the single bat to pack, whatever the case may be. That becomes very important. And what we can do through our partner engagements is to allow partners to play in that space as well, to be one of those consolidated vendors. And ultimately what this all comes down to, and where we kind of, the clincher for us is around the integrated carrier grade SLA. I mean, the carrier grade means it's best of class. The fact that it's integrated across that entire stack means it's really meaningful. Not only is it contextualized around the application, in other words, we can provide you a guarantee that your voice or your video call will be available, it will go ahead, and it will be of the quality that you expect. But we can also make sure that we have the visibility and control from the application layer all the way down to physical transport to demonstrate that real time and to guarantee it.
Yeah, absolutely. So we see SIP really as the bedrock platform, the bedrock access into UCaaS platforms. We call it Global SIP Connect, and we've recently introduced multimodal SIP trunking, so voice and video down the same pipe. This service has evolved basically out of our wholesale heritage in being the carrier's carrier from a voice minute perspective. And you can see some big numbers here. But the evolvement to a point where we can now, in 22 countries, do full PSTN replacement from a SIP perspective really starts adding value into the business case when you look at all the different elements that you have to put in front of a customer. So whilst we're providing this global SIP reach to enterprises and our partners, at the same time, we're also providing on-net connectivity to other third-party services. So almost in a wholesale fashion, we're enabling UCaaS clouds, whether public or private, and at the same time, enabling enterprises. That's all very well, Matt, but when we talk about plug and play, what do we mean by that?
Well, I think the important thing to remember with this solid foundation that we have and the breadth and scale that we have is the economies that come with that, the economies that we have and that we can then afford to our partner community and in turn then to the customers to make sure that the business case stacks up. Because we take an approach where not only is it plug and play, it's simple to drop these elements in, there's also modularity that's important. And one of the areas that's important is it allows us to identify certain services that act as a beachhead. And SIP can often start that conversation by enabling a very real cost saving to the end customer, often focused on enabling on-net access, eliminating PSTN costs, which may kind of seem counterintuitive for a PSTN provider to kind of state. But what it does is it frees up budget to help with the transformation program that an enterprise has and to fund some of these other longer reaching projects. The other very important factor, of course, is the modularity of all of this. We like to take a very stepwise approach, providing these end states that we and our enterprise and our partners kind of envision, really in partnership with our technology partners. And we do that for a number of different reasons. First of all, to manage risk. You don't want to take on too much change too quickly for the enterprise. They can't tolerate that, and obviously you need to make sure that it's a success every step of the way. The other thing that's very important to us, and I'm sure to our partners, is to reduce time to revenue. Let's chunk up these big projects into distinct phases that can realize revenue for us and value ultimately to the end user in a realistic time frame. Remember as well that all of these clouds, and we have lots of them, they're public and they're private, or they're hybrid, and we'll talk more about that framework in a second, but they're all built on a carrier-grade platform. And what does that mean? Well, that means we can provide the reliability and the resilience guarantees that's expected, as well as providing a tool set, visibility and control right across the end-to-end solution. That's all too key, not just for us to manage the platform or our partners to co-manage the platform, but for end customers as well. Keep in mind as well, another key point, between each of these distinct elements, the need to integrate and interoperate, which we have inherently built into our platform.
So we're now going to do a deeper dive into the Microsoft and Cisco UCaaS clouds that we've built out, and to show how we've realized vendor vision and have enabled enterprise strategy. I don't know about you, but what we're seeing is that when you go and see a customer, they're usually pretty clear about which side of the fence they sit on, whether that's Cisco or Microsoft. So you need a dual play. But this is all about the VARs, yourselves, increasing wallet share by moving into a global UCaaS model supported by Tata. So Matt, talk to us about Cisco.
So in the way that we build our UCaaS services, we very much use a framework, and I think that will come out in the next couple of slides where you see there's commonality in how we approach solving these pain points, or solving for these pain points that we've identified and providing value opportunities to our partner community. If we look through the specific lens of Cisco and Cisco's collaboration tools, this is high level how it looks. First and foremost in all of this is the end user experience. These magical experiences, as Cisco described them, enabled on any device from pocket to boardroom, is ultimately why we're here. We're here to help you, our partners, enable those experiences for our customers. That's absolutely key. How do we do that from a cloud perspective? Well, when we talk about Cisco, obviously we talk about Spark. Important to remember that Spark isn't just an application or a cloud service. Spark is also about this shift that we're seeing in the marketplace, this huge drive from the key vendors to move toward a software as a service subscription model. And that's really where we have focused as a player, we think, really well suited to be able to meet that change and that shift. Also recognize that the public cloud offer, particularly in Spark, doesn't meet all the requirements, particularly for our large and our global customers. And this notion of hybrid deployments is recognized industry-wide, not just with Cisco, but particularly with Cisco, as a requirement in order to meet the needs of those customers. And the way that we try and do that is to build this hybrid of public and private cloud. So ultimately the customer still gets the cloud solution that they need. They still get that OpEx-based software as a service subscription model, but they also get the full experience. They get the benefit of the public cloud with all of the features and the reliability and the scalability of some of those private cloud or the premise-based architectures that the vendor creates. And we can then extend the cloud, the public cloud service for our customers, still maintaining that cloud proposition. Lastly, I'd just like to touch on our partner-enabled Cloud Connect services. This is really key for you, our partner community, to understand the incremental revenue opportunity that we see for you. So we have our Global SIP Connect offer, which, as we've said before, it's a foundation piece, a bedrock that we would like to talk to you about to extend and show you how you can add, voice and data and video capabilities across, private networks interconnected to these public clouds. How we can provide you with the ability to offer PSTN replacement services, whether that's into private cloud or public cloud, and also how we can enable you with Cisco's Cloud Connected Audio piece, not just today in the way that it's currently envisioned for dual partner, but also making sure that you're ready for unified peering and the Spark preferred media provider cloud calling capabilities that are coming down the pipe. So Jim, how does this look in the context of Microsoft?
We talked about the application layer at the beginning and the foundation platforms or layers that sit beneath that. So we have invested and deployed hosted Skype for Business, whether dedicated or be dedicated in our data centers globally, in the Americas, in APAC, Europe, and dedicated in India. And this is to service the transition from enterprises that have been using PBXs but leveraging Link and that user experience. So it's taking that user experience and then moving that to an enterprise voice-enabled Skype for Business deployment. Effectively on-prem, but in a private cloud, and linking that obviously with the SIP for the global reach. Now, at the same time, you've got Microsoft being able to provide PSD calling from their Office 365 and their cloud PBX capability. And every customer that we're talking to is aware of the public cloud, shall we say, but they're not so aware of the private cloud, and there is confusion in between. So every single customer that we speak to, almost without exception, is a hybrid deployment of sorts. But importantly here, we've worked very closely with Microsoft to enable their Cloud PBX strategy and the licensing around that by taking what they call their Cloud Connector Edition and virtualizing that in our Skype for Business cloud. And we call that MEC, or Managed Enterprise Connector. It's enterprise, high availability, with more feature functionality set than the CC on-prem, and it then leverages our SIP to give that global reach with internet access into Cloud PBX for the call control. So we're covering all angles in respect to how an organization truly adopts all of the different workloads within the Microsoft offer, but with the quality of enterprise voice globally. And lastly, we have video interoperability through our unified conferencing platform to natively pair a Skype client with existing or legacy VC and telepresence. So that's all fantastic, but what about bringing all of those together? Modular cannot mean siloed. The technology and the service model must be unified to drive a good user experience. And let's not fool ourselves. The user is king now and has a lot of influence. But the adoption of these users is predicated on quality and availability, again, which leveraging the platforms that we provide, we can guarantee. But you've still got to enable those users. So Matt, how do we do that?
Well, I think we all recognise, the pattern of investments being made in UC and not really returning on investment, sometimes sitting unused altogether, or possibly just underutilised. But there's definitely an opportunity here we see in the marketplace to make sure there's a very solid user enablement program to try and break that cycle. In all of our offers, we integrate the user enablement program in each of those offers to make sure that we have a very tailored and targeted approach towards driving end user adoption and ultimately satisfaction through training and adoption programs. Where we think this differentiates, it really helps realize the return on investment for the end user. And we see this as an area where other providers fail. So we do see this as key. Not only does it provide the return on investment, but it also, if you get this right, it creates a very solid and sticky foundation that allows us all to build on and add other new revenue streams onto those customer relationships. And I suppose equally important to the user enablement is the partner enablement piece.
Thank you very much for your time.